The way we arranged the judging system this time was 5 secret judges. 50% of the vote comes from the judges, 25% comes from text voting, and another 25% comes from online voting. And these are the 5 secret judges.
I mean, you always want to get the judges who people can't complain are biased. So as much as possible, I try to get the most impartial people.
Sa pagbibigay ng mga lyrics na ginawa nila. Basically, rap tayo. Nagra-rap tayo, so kung ikaw magbibigay ka ng punchline pero walang multi, so walang rhyme, magsulat ka na ng libro.
Of content, basic flow, creativity.
And I didn't expect to become a judge. So how I see it is to judge a battle, kahit magkaiba sila ng style, it's a choice of words and the wit.
Yung characteristic ng isang judge para sa isang laban.
Okay, of course, for any judge, whatever you're judging, first, you have to be impartial.
Hindi ako maakusang...
Basta ako mananalo yung kaibigan ko.
At the end of it, be objective and call it right away.
Totoo lang, mahirap talaga mag-judge pag may involved na tropa mo na ganyan. Pero kung gano'n naman yung mangyayari, dapat ano ba? Mahirap talaga eh, mahirap magsalita po doon. Pero kung tatanungin mo kung ano talaga ang magiging judges, dapat maging balanse ka talaga.
Kumbaga, ang dami mong sinayang na oras na nasa job lang pala yung gagawin mo. Kahit anong sabihin ng 5 tao, kahit sinong 5 tao piliin mo, kahit si Eminem man yung piliin mo, people will always have their own opinions at the end of the day.
For that battle, BATAS versus ABRA, round 1 was a tie, round 2 was ABRA, round 3 is BATAS. So if you look at it, it should be a tie, but since there's no OT in this one, for me, I'll give it to BATAS because for me, substance is still more important than your multis, and I guess the creativity is not just on how you sound, but also on what you put in it. So you might sound nice, but it could be hollow. So I'd rather go with someone who still has a nice flow with good substance minus the multis, as long as the substance is there.
ABRA BATAS.
ABRA BATAS.
ABRA. It's an ABRA thing. Si BATAS, kung pakinggan mo yung record niya, naalala ko palagi yung mga lumang hip-hop, which some of the artists I grew up with, Onyx, dating high school, yung pasigaw talaga, di ba? Tapos, naririnig ko siya, freestyle, na ganun pa rin yung style niya. So hindi siya, pag nagbabattle kami, yung iba kasi pag nagbabattle, iba yung flow. Pag nagra-rap, iba yung flow. Si BATAS nandun pa rin kung paano siya mag-flow sa record niya, ganun siya mag-flow sa battle. So, believe ako doon. Pero dun sa battle na ng dalawa, mas umabra ako. Hindi siya nag-iba yung style ni Abra dun sa battle, dun sa mga records niya. But, nandun yung mga baon niya na customized for Batas, like Luto. Remember, cooking show with Batas. Tsaka yung Basta Batas, Tabas, or something like that. So, ang dami niyang ang dami niyang mga hinanda para doon. Which is, kay Batas, na hinanda niya para kay Abra, sobrang mahina kumpara dun sa mga hinanda ni Abra para kay Batas. So, ang hindi ko malimutang sinabi ni Abra dun, yung luto mula una hanggang pang-apat.
Connected, kumbaga.
Yeah, so Abra.
Who do you pick to win on the ABRA versus Batas? And yeah, why?
Well, off the top of my head, it's I give it to Batas, 2 rounds to 1, and I got this whole system like figured out, this whole formula, especially for battles like this that have uneven number of lines between the battle MCs. So like yeah, basically it's I break things down and get averages per line, and I'm supposed to score it all. But off the top of my head, Batas 2-1, and eventually I'm gonna break this down, or if anyone feels like they need me to break it down, I got to. I had to transcribe this shit, man.
What's the basic like as far as point system? Just slightly brush through the system that you put together.
Well, basically, since Abra obviously spat more lines than Batas, then you can't really score it on quantity. So, but to make sure you get the proper quality per line, I just average it per number of lines. So I score each line with out of 100, and I break it down into originality or creativity, delivery, rhyme scheme, lyricism, and angle or approach. So I can score all of that, and then I just get the average score per number of lines, man. Or I usually start with picking out the haymakers from the whole rounds. I give a haymaker 98 to 100 and 80 to 97. That's just a punch for me. There's 50 to 80. That's a jab, and I got this special thing, like it's called the minus. Basically, if you say something that's so off, or that's not, you know what I mean, that doesn't make sense at all, then you get that minus right away. Basic notes on the battle, like no doubt Batas can definitely work on his delivery, especially since like they mics were involved, and Batas might not have been holding his mic as well as Abra, or might not have been projecting, but with a non-mic battle, I guess, you know what I mean, like it could have gone totally different. Like, I mean, people could have reacted better to Batas' thing, and I just feel like Abra could have compacted his lines better, like he did against Shay at Dugdutan. Like definitely delivery is his for the most part, man. The whole technical thing with the rhyme scheme and all, but I just feel like he could have made use of better angles, because at certain points it felt like he was just multiing things, like yeah, or basically he could have just compacted it as much as he did against Shay, where there wasn't any line that, you know what I mean, could have been replaced. So yeah, those are my basic notes, and but if you want to get a full breakdown of the battle, I have the scores here, and has 7 pages of scoring each line, and hopefully yeah, I hope you guys don't hate me for my decisions. 2-1 to Batas.
But sometimes the problem with these battles, the hardest part of it is finding out who really won.
I give it to Batas, 2 rounds to 1.
It should be a tie, but since there's no OT in this one, for me, I'll give it to Batas, just because for me, substance is still more important than your multis.
Abra. It's an Abra thing.
PhD would announce who they thought won live, and Mike Gossa were set to announce who he picked who won this battle live. So when I called on PhD, so when I called on So when I called up PhD picked ABRA.
Yung ginagamit ko talagang yung aking idea sa pag-judge nun ay based talaga more on punchline and multis. Hindi yun sa nakakatawa or nakakapanlight ng tao. Basta highly intellectual na multi na punchline. Malaking ano sa akin yun, malaking point sa akin.
And after PhD had picked ABRA, which meant it was up to Mike Cosa to make the deciding last vote to see if either it's a tie ready to go to overtime or ABRA wins, because ABRA had already won the text voting and the online voting, which is responsible for 50% of the vote. So it was up to Mike Cosa to vote whether he picked ABRA or BATAS. And Psych and PhD had already picked ABRA, and Ryan Andres, Silent, had picked BATAS. And Enigma had picked BATAS. So it was up to Mike Cosa. It was up to Mike Cosa to make that deciding vote. And guess what? We call on Mike Cosa. We're like, Mike Cosa, make your way up so you can make your judging, so you can say and announce who you think won between ABRA and BATAS. Mike Cosa, nobody, everybody's looking for him, and I'm like, you know, I'm a little bit nervous because that's an important thing. People are waiting. We're live streaming, and a lot of people are watching. 9,000 people watching, being live streamed at home. So I'm like, oh shit. I had to man up and say, you know what? I'll take the responsibility of voting who I think won. So when it was time for me to make that announcement, it was so much pressure on me, because if you know my history, you never see me judge anywhere, any battles. I don't like judging because I think every single MC that steps into the arena and battle anyone face to face is a winner to me, because it's not an easy thing to step in there and go at it with hurtful words. So I had to man up, and when I announced it, I announced that BATAS had heavier lines than ABRA, and maybe deep inside my heart I also wanted to see an overtime to really decide who would win this battle, because it's too unfair for BATAS to look like it was such a slaughter when it was such a close match. Both of them did so well. This was the hardest to judge, and that day I had to say BATAS. Deeply inside, I wanted him to go overtime against ABRA, because they had an option if they wanted to battle overtime that day. But you know, that day was a day of celebration. It wasn't meant for anyone to battle. So after I announced the BATAS, it became 50% BATAS, because he wins the judging from the judges, the votes from the judges, and ABRA got it from internet voting and text voting, which is both a beautiful thing, you know what I'm saying? So it's so hard, and we tried our best, and we're gonna keep on getting better at judging these battles. I know it took long for us to upload this, but like I said, we're all in this together, trying to make it better, trying to make it fair, neutral. We just work forward and see the best way how we could make the leagues better. And we thank every judge and everyone that participated. We thank Mike Cosa, even though he couldn't make it there because of the emergency. He had to go and he couldn't announce it, but we still went through it, and everything is all good. See y'all in the next upcoming Sunugans. We're working hard. We're not gonna go nowhere.